Do you want to look how, or see how depreciation works, or do we speak about it and that was enough?
Do you want to do a quick depreciation?
Yeah, I'd like to look.
Yeah, so cancel out of here. So the terminology in the EM module is an asset. So let's go to EM asset setup. Okay, so basically under the method here, that's what I was telling you today. There's only two methods that we support, and that's straight line and declining balance as far as depreciation. We don't do any tax depreciation scheduling. We don't have any of that in our system that's sophisticated. People that have that, they import the depreciation into equipment from their tax depreciation software to get it in if it's anything outside these methods. A lot of my customers use straight line because that gets them in the ballpark, and that straight line tends to work good. What do you got to have to make straight line work? So hit F4 and grab a piece of equipment, okay? So if I'm capitalizing one of these pieces of equipment, go ahead and grab it. I think because we're in a test system, we can go ahead and pretend that we've got it. So now, why do I have an asset that's different from the equipment? So usually people have a one-to-one relationship, because if I purchase something, I want to capitalize it. I want to create a depreciation schedule. If, for instance, I get a truck and I do that, but a year later, I take it out and I put a nice fancy flatbed and do something. It's the same piece of equipment, but I've done another $5,000, $10,000 upgrade on it. So the one piece of equipment can have the asset that started its depreciation schedule when I bought it, and then if we do some sort of capital improvement on it, I can have a flatbed or something that's still attached to the same piece of equipment. And this depreciation schedule can be a different amount and start at any point in time, okay? So there can be a one-to-one relationship between depreciation schedules or equipment, or one piece of equipment could have a couple of asset depreciation schedules if necessary. But in this, let's just go ahead and call it one, because I can have my equipment be one and my asset be one. Enter. Then pops down that. So what you have to do is this total amount of depreciation and the number of amounts left to depreciate. If you're using straight line depreciation, the system has to know to build the depreciation schedule on the next tab when you calculate. What's the beginning balance? Because you guys, before Vista shows up, you've already been depreciating that thing for however many months, and then there's still a balance left to depreciate and X number of months to depreciate. So for instance, let's say your purchase price was, for this was $50,000, and enter. Your residual now thinks this, so let's go ahead and put $2,000 in there. Now it thinks there's $48,000 left to depreciate, and let's say there's 48 months, okay? So 48 divided by 48, go ahead and hit save. If I go ahead and you say, yep, I got 48 months at $48,000, hit, now go to my schedule there for a second. I haven't created a depreciation schedule, hit calculate. Okay. So for 48 months, straight line depreciation, how much per month am I going to be depreciating that truck for? That's going to be $1,000 a month, straight line, for 48 months. So we'll be depreciating that from this month the whole way through December of 2021. So now, if I go to the grid, imagine I have all of my equipment in there, and I built a depreciation schedule at the end of the month. All I got to do is process that thing, and it knows which piece of equipment, what that monthly depreciation amount is. It'll route it through the equipment and over to the electrical. So any questions about this, Chris? This is pretty much what you need. So hit the info tab. The requirements are, I need kind of a beginning balance for Vista out of your current system's depreciation balance. How many months left? If I'm using straight line, then if we go to the schedule there, it's going to create it. It knows I haven't done anything yet for January because I haven't taken any depreciation of the $48,000 for 48 months at $1,000 a month. But now I'm able to process January's depreciation. If I had 50 vehicles.
So I'm basically putting the balance that's left to depreciate and then the,
So Vista can build its depreciation schedule on the remaining amount, so it knows how many months to do and what the total amount is.
Yeah, and most of our, just kind of scanning over the vehicles, most of the vehicles are set up at straight line. So that's something that should work. For
That's
us.
handy, because you don't support anything too fancy. It's usually the tax that people are like, how can I use tax? So we have to use their software and then import depreciation into Vista, because all the calculations going into those amounts are so variable that we don't have that for a lot of depreciation softwares that they have all that stuff built in. So then we import a batch, because our system, it does straight line to declining balance only.
Because right now I'm just doing an estimate entry anyway.
Yeah.
And then truing it up. It would be better than what we're doing now.
So let's go to the grid. Let me kind of tell you what else we would have to do. So a lot of my customers are like, hey, this looks great for my construction vehicles and all that kind of stuff. But hey, I went out and I built a fence around my little thing. I'm depreciating buildings and I'm capitalizing. My depreciation schedule has more than rolling vehicles and what we consider equipment. They've got copy machines, they've got fences, they've got building improvements, they've got all sorts of stuff. So usually what we got to do, once again, create a dummy piece of equipment in Vista. That dummy piece of equipment can be capital projects. Then the assets I can have is one piece of equipment called capital stuff. All the assets are all the little things that I'm depreciating. You know, a Ricoh copier, you know, something.
So you could have,
Fence project, la-di-da, razor wire.
so if you want to run that depreciation function through Vista for other categories,
Yeah.
Instead of setting up every single item, you can just put in your category. So if you want to have like your leasehold improvement or your office equipment, you can just have one bucket for each of those categories.
Yep. So go to the info tab.
You select the generic and then just assign it a different asset.
Possibly, we
Yeah.
can try to marry it up to our
Exactly.
That's what
routines,
you're just
maybe.
saying, I think, yeah.
Yeah, create a generic piece of equipment, have many assets so that thing, make sure it's pointed to the right depreciation and expense account, just because in the other ones, we've got some defaults set up on the departments. But for the overhead stuff, we may want to override this, but we've got to take the general ledger into account because
Right.
it's going to create a general ledger entry here in just a sec. So, but yeah, basically, since it's living in the equipment, your equipment stuff can be matched up like this, but think, hey, I got some other stuff I'm capitalizing besides equipment, and I can use this and for that as well. I just gotta have some kind of dummy piece of equipment and a bunch of assets linked to that. So let's click down below. Let's post this batch just so you can see what's going on. So let's go to EM depreciation posting or processing, excuse me. Creates a batch. So now it says, hey, what date do you want to depreciate? Today's date? Fine. Hit process. It's going to look out to your depreciation schedules and say, hey, I found something out there. I added it to the batch so you can depreciate it. Okay? Validate. Preview. So, cost code 501. Cost code not on file. Cancel. One more mapping I didn't do. Cancel. Cancel out here for just a sec. Cancel. EM company parameters. There's a couple things that are pointed the wrong direction. Depreciation cost code, hit F4. Let's grab depreciation and then F4 and depreciation and save. Okay, cancel out here. I need a little mapping. Now, let's go to cost adjustments because there's actually a batch sitting there unposted in cost adjustments. It's an EM depreciation batch. Say okay. Go to so if we go to the grid view, we did a cost depreciation and job cost. This is another depreciation. If there were 50 assets it would be getting it all the information in here because you've got an audit trail batch for everything in the system. So this is just our one little $1,000 depreciation. Hit file. Actually hit F4. Going forward, it'll grab the right one. It needs that to do that there. But going forward, we fixed the mapping. Going forward, file, process batch, validate, preview. So now, multiple things has happened. I'm going to update my depreciation schedule by taking $1,000 of depreciation, cancel out here. In the general ledger, I'm debiting my depreciation expense and crediting the accrued depreciation vehicles for that, and post. So now I'm hitting the GL, I've got the equipment detail, and come back down here to my asset, please, hit refresh. And now I've taken 1,000, I go back to my schedule here, and all the system's doing is kind of going down and keeping track of your depreciation schedule and where you're at on it. So that's what happens in the EM asset setup. It's where we set up straight line depreciation, create a batch each month, hit the general ledger with an equipment audit trail, and kind of do our monthly processing here. Okay. So that is, we need beginning balances is the key to the whole asset thing, because you need to build your depreciation schedules in Vista. And usually people create their ending balance from their previous system. Going forward, I'm going to not use that old system, we'll use the new one and calculate it in here. Okay?